thanks so much for joining us on After GMS. It is Wednesday, July 6th. 2022. I'm Tracy McCain here with meteorologist Christian Morgan and Megan Molaris, 3/4 of our M crew.
Yeah, missing Ed. He's got a couple days off, so we wish him the best. He's going to be dealing with some heat, though, for his bike rides he has planned.
Yeah, plenty of heat and humidity, and a lot like yesterday, we'll have to watch out for some storms as we go into this afternoon. As you take a live look out over the Piedmont right now, looks kind of like a hot day, doesn't it? We have some blue sky. We also have some clouds, but that sun is really starting to beat down already. And of course, we have a lot of humidity in the atmosphere as well. So it's muggy when you step outside. Quiet on the radar this morning. Nothing left of our storms that rolled through yesterday afternoon and last night. Those have all fizzled out in the state of South Carolina this morning. Meanwhile, though, up to our north, watching this cluster of showers and storms that's been rolling through Ohio down into West Virginia now. Eventually, it'll move into the Piedmont this afternoon, and the cold air rushing out of the bottom of those storms will actually kind of act as a bit of a trigger to help fire off thunderstorms again this afternoon. So we're looking at another afternoon with scattered showers and thunderstorms. So not everybody gets one, but I would say at least 50 to 60% of our area is going to get a couple rumbles of thunder or some raindrops this afternoon. Those could be accompanied with some damaging winds, some frequent lightning, and also possibly some flash flooding concerns as well as we go into this afternoon. So all of us in that level 2 risk for severe weather today, mainly after about 2 o'clock up until about 10. That doesn't mean it's going to be storming that entire time, but that's just kind of prime time for storms to pop up as we're in the peak heating of the day. And as you know, well, the weather hasn't really changed over the last few days. Our weather pattern hasn't changed over the last few days either. We're still very much influenced by that Bermuda high. So we're getting a south and southwesterly wind. It brings in the warm air. It also brings in moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico and off of the Atlantic Ocean as well. And one thing we get a lot of times in the summer is when it's really hot and really humid, we get a little area of low pressure, or what's called a trough, to develop east of the Appalachian Mountains. And that kind of acts as a trigger again to fire off showers and storms. So we have that going for us today. So there are a couple factors at play here that would give us a busy afternoon of storms again today, much like we saw yesterday. Otherwise, it's just going to be hot and humid again today as temperatures soar into the low to mid 90s. You factor in the humidity, it'll feel like it's 100 degrees plus in many locations. So just take precautions, take frequent breaks, drink that water, and just take it easy if you're going to be outside today and really over the next few days. You know how fast that heat exhaustion or even a possibly heat stroke can creep up on you in dangerous heat like this. That kind of weather is going to persist as we go into your Thursday on into your Friday as well. We'll have another good chance of scattered storms on Saturday as a cold front rolls through. But behind that front, we look to be a little drier, a little cooler, and maybe, just maybe, a little less humid for Sunday and Monday. Highs on Sunday in the low 80s, back to the mid 80s on Monday. But you know the heat and humidity come roaring back in again by middle of next week.
Hot and humid for the next few days and the summer.
Yeah.
This summer.
Preston commented the storms last night were awesome. He said it was good to see the rain, even though his weather radio went off 5 times for the warning.
Yeah, you know, I have stuff set up on my phone where I get National Weather Service alerts just in case, you know, we're on the air and I can't always see everything. It was just blowing up last night. And I was actually out of town and I was like, what is happening? And honestly, when I look back at stuff, the lightning was insane.
Yeah.
Incredible lightning we had.
Literally back to back.
Yeah, just constant lightning yesterday with the storms.
Thunder.
Yeah, thunder and even some down trees and power lines and some folks with issues last night. So that's kind of what we need to be on guard for again today.
All right, so you see video of Netflix behind us, and that is for a very good reason. It is the topic of our social conversation today. We want you to go ahead and weigh in on this. Would you continue to use Netflix if it continues to offer a newer, cheaper subscription option to customers at a lower cost? So you might be wondering, what is all this subscription stuff to do, right? Well, it might have to do with Netflix recently reporting a big drop in its subscriber numbers.
So the streaming service says it hopes to earn more revenue by adding a plan with ads, but it will cost you less than the regular service. Competitors like Hulu and HBO Max already offer cheaper plans with commercials included. Netflix has not released the pricing, though, of this cheaper subscription just yet. So back in April, the company said commercials would be coming in about a year.
Right, so let's talk about it here at the table, and we want you guys to weigh in as well. What do you think about this new option that Netflix is giving you to have a lower price subscription, but with commercials and ads attached. All right, Christian, you got us started on the Good Morning Show, and I like some of your points here. So
I feel like we've been going this way for a while.
Yeah.
You know, back, a few years ago when we started using the phrase cutting the cord and people were moving away from cable and kind of moving more towards streaming services, the big catch was that there were no commercials, right? Now I think we've transitioned from not so much the commercials, but the big catch is having everything on demand. And I think we saw a lot of that happen for us during the pandemic. You know, now we are very much a collection of people who want things with convenience. You know, we want it now, we don't want to wait for it, and whatever it takes to get it now, we're going to do, even if that means paying more or maybe having to endure some commercials through it. So I think we've kind of seen that shift now over the last few years.
Yeah, I've never minded commercials, besides the fact that they're so much louder than the actual programming. That's my biggest peeve with commercials. You know, it gives you a chance to get up, start a little laundry, go to the bathroom, you know, do what you need to do. And if the subscription for the commercial Netflix is significantly less than the regular subscription, it's something I might consider.
Yeah.
You know, we're all about saving costs these days. We're seeing streaming service pricing go up. Even car radio, Sirius XM has gone up so much. So because these companies are trying to monetize the streaming in the ways that they know how, and also combat some of the things that are coming, like possibly a recession, and it's costing them more to do everything as well.
Yeah, and now there's so many streaming services. You know, we're all subscribed to so many different things, so we're paying for each thing, and now we're going to get commercials on everything. It all starts to get jumbled up again.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen any price information? Like how much less the subscription would cost compared to the other one?
So not for this new one. I think Netflix said it was still working this out, but I've noticed an increase in some of just the basic service plans that are already out there, obviously without these commercials. So it looks like some of this might already be happening. They're just trying to work out the logistics, it seems.
So a lot of people have some decisions to make when it comes to subscriptions. Are you going to pay a little bit more for no ads, or are you going to go the more affordable route, according to Netflix, which is to have some advertisements? And we'll see what people are saying here on our feed here. Yvonne Rhodes said she just dropped Netflix. Why did you drop Netflix, Yvonne? Let us know. Was it because of the subscription prices, or did they run out of shows that you really like? Rhonda said, we watch Hulu and Paramount, which we appreciate because that's where we are, Paramount. Joanne says, I'm too old for all this new stuff, and it has a few likes on that comment already. Sean said, I just watched free TV. Said, I've got 6 channels to watch. I only watch 7. I mainly listen to radio, but that is definitely an option. And then Preston said the Sling TV Orange plan went up to $35. He said it used to be $25.
I know streaming services are going up in pricing, but so are cable boxes. I mean, the cost to rent my cable boxes has increased at least a couple dollars, and when you multiply that with multiple boxes, that's a significant expense every month. So I mean, this is a conversation in our household now. What is worth paying for? What is not? What are we watching? What are we not? As far as Netflix, I remember some of the drama a few months ago was not so much about the pricing or even the commercials at that point. It was about the content that was on there. A lot of subscribers were unhappy that Netflix seemed to be recycling a lot of old shows, a lot of old movies, and not giving new options for watching. I still like several programs on there. I think they've done a good job of bringing new material, but then again, we don't use it that much.
That's a good point.
I don't know, for a minute, I was lost in Netflix. During my maternity leave last year, one of our directors gifted me a 2-month subscription to Netflix, and I was like, oh yeah, this is perfect for maternity leave. I watched it every day, and when the baby was, when I was nursing the baby or, doing chores, or that was like my go-to, and it just kind of gave me something else to do. And I fell in love with a few shows, but now that I'm done with them, I haven't really watched much on Netflix lately.
That's the way I get too. Like, I haven't watched anything on Hulu in 6 months. I paused my subscription because I wasn't watching anything on it, and then I was kind of gravitating back to some Netflix shows, and it's just one of those things. Like, I mentioned,
so many options.
There's so many options, but you can't get everything that you want to watch, that everybody tells you that you need to watch or says that's good if you only have one. So I feel like I think I wrote it here in the chat. I feel like there's so many, and I think almost all of us, if we're really into the streaming thing, have at least more than one service. you know, and then eventually that all starts to add up again, and then you start to look at it, you're like, okay, what am I paying now versus what I used to be paying when I had maybe cable or maybe when I had something else.
You mentioned something in the chat about inventing Anna.
Yeah.
Loved it.
So good.
Loved it. Would
That was a
recommend it.
Netflix exclusive show, I believe. That's where I watched it. So good.
Yeah, it was actually made and produced for Netflix. So that was another Shonda Rhimes, I believe.
Yep, based on a true story. I won't spoil it, but that's something to watch if you're.
Right. And then Shonda Rhimes also has Bridgerton, seasons 1 and 2,
So
and
good.
already in the works is a season 3. So I mean, yeah, I'll keep it for that. But you know, there's just so many options, and you're right. If it was all on one platform, it would be amazing. But they're never going to do that.
Never going to be that way.
That would be like CBS, NBC, Fox, and like ABC all coming together and saying, you know what?
Let's be friends.
Let's be friends. We're not competitors anymore. Let's all just put it all on one app.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
No. All right, this was a great first conversation.
Definitely.
All
right, we will move on then to our headline.
Let's do that. We have a lot to talk about. We mentioned those storms last night, and unfortunately, hundreds of people still without power this morning following the lightning strikes last night. This is some video from Century Park Avenue in Kernersville, where Duke Energy says about 300 people are still in the dark. Crews are working hard to restore electricity, but have not given an estimate on what time things will be back on. And now they have round 2 to worry about later today. The Winston-Salem Battalion Chief says weather likely caused a house fire on Pheasant Lane last night. Look at this video from the Triad House where firefighters responded just after 6 p.m. Officials believe lightning struck the house. No one was hurt, thankfully. Crews on scene say the family had just moved into the house about a month ago. Mount Airy city leaders fear strong storms could cause even more damage to a historic building that caved in Monday night. The main oak building has stood there for more than a century. It was set to be renovated into apartments. Fire crews are stabilizing the structure as investigators look into what caused the partial collapse. The assistant fire chief says he was in the building with architects about 5 months ago, and everything appeared to be fine.
Well, restaurants recovering from the pandemic received devastating news this week. The North Carolina Court of Appeals ruled some businesses cannot be reimbursed for losses through their insurance policies. The 3-judge panel sided with insurance companies, reversing a lower court's decision. They say to get paid through an insurance policy, restaurants need to prove a direct physical loss or damage to property. The panel ruled losses suffered due to pandemic restrictions do not count. More Triad police departments and sheriff's offices are warning you about a text message scam. The Forsyth County Sheriff's Office posted they are also among the agencies now being targeted in a new scam. High Point Police, as well as agencies in the Charlotte area, all putting out warnings saying if you get a text to purchase a police or sheriff's office shirt, ignore it. Do not click on the link, and certainly do not give out any money.
All right, let's get another check on that forecast as you get ready to kick off your Wednesday across the Piedmont. The heat and humidity, those are still very, very much big factors for today. Mid-90s, feeling like 100 degrees when you factor in all the humidity. So dangerous heat, just use your common sense, drink plenty of water, take those breaks if you're outside. Don't overdo it. Can really creep up on you pretty fast. Of course, as we head into the afternoon and into the evening, that's when we'll start to keep a closer eye on things for scattered storms across the area this afternoon and this evening, especially during peak daytime heating. So really after about 2 o'clock up until about 10 o'clock, I think is that time frame that we need to watch the closest. A few of those may be able to pack a damaging wind gusts, some flash flooding concerns possible, maybe a few hailstones as well, and any storm will likely have frequent lightning in it. That will be the story again as we go to your Thursday and again into Friday and again into Saturday. But after that, a cold front is past the area, and it looks like we'll be a little drier and even a little bit cooler as we end the second half of the weekend and kick off next week. Looking at 82 on Sunday, 84 on Monday, and possibly a little less humid those 2 days too. Heat cranks back up by the middle of next week though.
And it will be back.
Oh yeah.
I'm so glad we haven't seen an actual 100-degree day.
It's really, really hard. I don't know if we talked about this before, but it's really hard for us to get 100 degrees around here. Usually, here's a factor. Because our heat is typically coupled with humidity. It's very rare that we get just a dry heat. And a dry air can actually heat up a lot more than really humid and moist air. So the humidity actually tamps down the ability for us to heat up, and usually the setup isn't perfect for us. Usually we have to have a lot going on. I won't get into the weeds here, but we have to have one thing in particular going on at the surface, and the same thing happening where it's kind of vertically stacked in the atmosphere, and we just don't have that typically.
So what's all this heat doing with our hurricane potential? Because if it's warming the atmosphere, certainly it's warming the water. And we know when water gets warm, you have more of the ingredients for those tropical storms.
Last time I looked at water temperature off the coast of Wrightsville Beach was in the low 80s.
That's
So
really warm.
that's bath water, and that sort of threshold that we look for is 80 degrees. We say that when it's 80 degrees, then the water is right for tropical systems. Now, the question is whether or not you get a little, and it can start with just a cloud coming off the coast of Africa in the tropics, and then, I don't know if you guys even noticed it. I know a lot of us have been off over the week. Friday afternoon, there was a shower off the coast of Georgia near Savannah.
Okay.
Friday afternoon. Saturday morning, it was a tropical storm.
Wow.
That was Tropical Storm Colin, but it was in and out of here fast. Like, you might have not even realized it. But it can happen that quick because the water's so warm and there really wasn't anything to chop it up. So all it takes is one little wave or one little disturbance coming off the coast of Africa. And if it runs into that warm water and doesn't have any wind shear to chop it up, game on. So it's that time of the year now. We're starting to get into that time where we'll see a few things pop up. August, September, we'll likely see a lot more out there.
Yeah, well, I remember driving Simone to dance last night. She's like, "Mom, are we going to dance?" And I was like, "I hope so," because it looked like we were driving through a tunnel. Like,
it got
was
really
so
dark.
Yeah, and the clouds were just, and then the light. It was just like, she's like, "Mom," I'm like, "Babe, let's just turn around." Yeah, but we kept going. All right, it is time for us to say goodbye for this great edition of After GMS, but we'll be back tomorrow with more great conversations and your headlines and a forecast.
And a forecast.
Get out there and get to it. Have a great day.
See ya.